Hi, I'm Jesse with Canine Perspective, and in this video we're going to cover why do we only train using e-collar? Because in my opinion it's the best tool. It's the most effective, it's the most efficient, and the easiest for the average dog owner to understand and apply. So the other reason is when I first started my career 12, 14 years ago, so as Canine Perspective, I've been operating for 12 years, but I was actually working with dogs for about 2 years more than that prior. So I started out as purely positive reinforcement, clicker training, gentle leader stuff. And I was one of those people that said, don't use prong collar, don't use choke chain, don't use e-collar and all that stuff. And then when I started to get these behavior cases, aggression and reactivity stuff, and I started to realize like, well, the dog really doesn't care about the food. So then I started to become curious and go, well, what are these other tools able to do, right? So then I graduated to slip chain or choke chain. Then I graduated to prong collar, and then I graduated to remote collar. So I started from the simplest all the way to remote collar. And I started to see as I started experimenting with these new tools, I was getting more and more progress with more and more difficult cases. And e-collar just has the highest ceiling of all the tools that there are. Okay. So for our price point, what we charge, let's say for the in-person training, we have had clients in the past say, "Will you train my dog with positive reinforcement only or prong collar?" They'll put some kind of limitation to the training, and I'll tell them no, because the way that I'm priced is I know if a client does a package of 6 classes, right? And let's say we're dealing with leash reactivity, and they just want to be able to walk their dog in peace and then recall, right? I go, okay, so we have heel, we have recall, and then we have leash reactivity, right? So we have behavior. In 6 classes, I know what I can get done, right? So I'm thinking, all right, there's gonna be 2 classes on heel, maybe a third on the reactivity, pending, if it's not being resolved in the first 2 classes, we got a third on the reactivity. Fourth is we're going to cover recall. That leaves us 5 and 6. Okay. So does that mean I'm going to get reactivity done by the 3rd class? Depends. I do get my very difficult cases, but in those situations, I would tell them like, you want to do a longer program, right? But sometimes people are on a budget. So then what I'll do is we go, okay, we got heel part 1 and part 2. We got leash reactivity, it's class 3. We have recall, class 4. We have classes 5 and 6. Is I'll tell them, go and practice and shoot me emails whenever you have a problem. Okay, so for the next month or 2, the owner will email me, and then I'll email them back and go, okay, do this next, do this next, do this next. So then eventually they go, hey Jesse, the leash reactivity is done. I go, great, now have your 5th class. Okay, or they might say, Jesse, I'm still really struggling with leash reactivity. Okay, now have your 5th class, right? So I'm really trying to stretch out the program to help the owner accomplish what they're trying to accomplish within that time frame. Okay. And e-collar is a tool that allows me to do that. It's a tool that once the owner understands it, I can just email them what to do, simple instructions, and they go and practice for a week or 2, and then they come back and say it worked or it didn't work, and then I send them some more information. We just keep going back and forth, right? E-collar is the only tool that lets me do that because it's very simple to understand. It's very simple to, it's something that both the dog and the human can both understand very effectively, very quickly. No other tool allows us to do that, right? So, in my opinion, so if someone's like, yeah, just train my dog with prong collar, I'll still pay your price. I go, no. I was like, because my ceiling, my clients are my billboard, is what I like to say, right? My clients are my billboard. So if a client who had a dog that was leash reactive and they're walking and then someone's like, oh, wow, your dog's so well trained. They're like, oh, thank you. I worked with Jesse with Canine Perspective. Like, you wouldn't believe what this dog was like before. That's my billboard, right? But if I'm saying, sure, I'll train your dog with treats and I'll train your dog with prong collar and all that stuff when I know what the limitations are and it's not going to get the owner where they want to be, now my billboard is varied. Now I'm going to get, 50% of people that aren't making a whole lot of progress and 50% of people that are making progress because they're using the e-collar and the others aren't using e-collar. So now my billboard is, 50% less consistent. And I want my billboard to always be the same. I want everybody to be like, yeah, the training with Jesse was amazing. It was great. It was easy to understand. He didn't touch my dog the entire time. He taught me to train my dog real time. We're working at Oz Park in the middle of life with all these things going on, and we're building reliable obedience and functional obedience in this realistic, busy environmental context, right? That's what I want people to profess to the world. So, but when we're using, treats and all that stuff, and I know it's not going to work, well, one, I don't want to waste that person's time and money. I don't want to waste my time. I have a lot of clients that want to be in my calendar, that want to learn how to do e-collar correctly. And I'm like, that's my clientele. Those are the people that I want, okay? Sooner or later, maybe the other people that only want to do positive stuff, maybe one day they wake up and realize, oh, like these methods aren't really getting me anywhere. And then they come back and go, hey, Jesse, I'm ready for e-collar. Oh, come on board. Now I'll help you. Now you're ready, right? So I only use remote collar because it's just the best training tool that there is. I've built my career, in the past 12 years, ever since I came back from my internship with Richard Hines, working with remote collar and just saying, nope, this is the tool that we use. I use this specific brand. My methodology, my technique, my programs are designed around this particular brand. So someone's like, oh, well, I'll do e-collar, but I want to use this Garmin. I go, I don't do Garmin. That's my theory of training is tailored to this specific tool. They're very different. You need to find a trainer that has tailored their program or will tailor the program to that specific tool, okay? So I'm very strict about this stuff simply because I don't need to take every person that walks through the door. And I know, with 12 to 14 years of experience, that e-collar is the easiest, most effective, and efficient training tool that there is. So if I'm dealing with, if the owner wants reliable obedience and we're past the puppy phase, right, we're past 6 months, then I go, it's going to be remote collar, okay? So if you're not comfortable with remote collar, I do not suggest trying to book a consultation and then trying to ask me to accommodate our programs to use the method that you're wanting us to use. I use strictly e-collar. I use strictly the Doctor brand, nothing else. Unless we're dealing with the puppy again under 6 months, that's separate. That's real basic puppy training stuff. Because we have had it where people do all this stuff, they pay the $235, and then when they book the program, like, oh, by the way, I don't want to do e-collar, I just want to do treats. And we go, no, like that. This is the whole reason why we had the consultation. Okay, so I'm just with Canine Perspective. Thank you for watching.